Welcome everyone to to today's Wednesday morning lecture here on the 21st of July. This is the fifth and final lecture of our series, our five-part series on digital marketing strategy. So if you don't, just as a refresher, what we've covered so far are we did a general overview of digital marketing strategy and its components and purpose. The customer persona, customer value propositions, and competitive analysis. So the fifth and final lecture will be on branding and logo. That will sort of bookend our series, and then we can start our next series, which we will begin on web design. And I think you guys will find that the content that we talk about today, the information that we're providing today, will actually lead very nicely into web design. So without any further delay, let's talk about branding. So what is a brand? And that's kind of the number one question that we need to kind of answer before we go delving into branding and logo design. Well, first and foremost, your brand is not your logo. So just to be clear, lots of folks, as they get started on their journey, go directly to the logo and start developing a logo before they develop the brand. We're trying to break some of these old habits. And the first thing to understand is the brand is not your logo. The brand is also not going to be your products and services. So your products and services are going to change over time. And as we discussed in the customer value proposition, just going through figuring out what your products and services are and the best products and services for your customers is a process, but you can constantly pivot your products and services. Your brand really shouldn't pivot that much. I mean, every now and then, companies will rebrand, but you want to make sure that your brand is fairly stable so that you're not having to constantly find a new audience for your business. So then we've talked about what the brand isn't. So what is the brand? The brand is essentially how other people feel about your business. What feelings do you invoke about when you interact with your customers? And interactions can happen in a number of different ways. It can happen through an email exchange. It can happen through an in-person meeting. It can happen through a visit to your website. So what are the feelings that are being invoked when customers interact with your business? And basically, it's really kind of it really comes back to how people talk about your business, how your customers and how individuals are conversing and talking about how your business, what your business's sort of values are, what feelings you invoke, and how they talk with each other about the business. So you guys may have realized, and we've talked about this before in recent years, there's been a pretty strong push towards social causes with businesses, and it's something that I would certainly recommend looking into as a business owner, looking at getting your business involved in social causes that are going to be important to your customers. But that's part of branding. So they want to, if you want your customers to associate you with being socially conscious or having a strong social awareness, then adding that to your portfolio can be beneficial to the way that you speak to your customers. So with that, what's the purpose? Why are we doing all this? There's a lot of work that goes into creating a brand, and we want to make sure that we're doing things that are going to be productive for us. So why are we going into looking at your branding at all? Well, the purpose of the brand is sort of relates to human psychology, and people kind of remember things through association. That's basically how advertising works. So we're going to basically remember. The customer may not directly remember all of the things that you've said, or even your logo or your ads, but they will remember much better the emotions that are invoked by your brand than they will remember long term than they may remember any individual message that you've given them. So in order to keep your business at the top of your customers' minds, we want to create a brand that they can associate with you. And it's as an individual, if you're representing your company, you are your brand, right? You're speaking to customers. You're going out there and pounding the pavement and going to conferences and interfacing with customers, and they'll remember you. If they like you, they'll remember you, and they say, "Hey, I want to do business with this person." Well, a brand, a business needs to put an emotion to the business as well, and so as just as people want to associate with other people that they can connect with on an emotional level, customers want to associate with businesses that they can connect with on an emotional level. So some of the steps that you want to look at when you're trying to move forward with your brand would be to turn your customers into brand advocates. So you want your customers, and this is why it's so important to look at customer persona as part of your strategy, or add customer persona to part of your strategy, is because you want to find not just a group of customers that you can sell to, but you want to find a group of customers that that will go out there and advocate for you as some of that social proof. So it's much more powerful if a friend of yours, it's much more powerful if a friend of yours comes to your, talks to, if a friend of yours talks to you about a business and says, "Hey, I've interacted with this business. These guys are really cool. You should check them out." Then if I just get an ad, I see an ad or something like that. So you need to find the best customers that can advocate and become brand advocates for you. Then, in addition to that, you want to make sure that you are representing your brand across many different platforms through your content, whether that be your web content, your email content, the images that you provide online and offline, any video that you create. These should all kind of represent the messaging of your branding. So also, not only through digital means, but through offline means, you want to make sure that from phone call, your phone conversations and in-person meetings, any kind of conversational touch points, customer service interactions, that you are also kind of maintaining that same sort of feeling of the brand, the same emotions that you throughout all of your messaging, your print marketing, your signage, networking. Networking is really big, even when you're just going out there and meeting individuals across networking events, conferences, things of that nature. And then not only externally facing, speaking to customers and speaking to potential partners, but you also want to maintain the brand within your organization. So branding within the organization with your employees can also be really important, because not only will your customers be some of your best advocates, but your employees may also be some of your best advocates, because they can go out into the world and speak to their friends and their family members and speak highly of your company and help to promote your brand. So the one of the first things that you really want to look at is to kind of determine what your brand values are. And so that really comes back to the customer. We talked about the customer persona a few weeks ago. And so determining your brand values is going to be a really key. You want to create values that your customers care about. So again, if you're going to be targeting families, single moms, maybe your values will be family oriented, or maybe your values will be child oriented, depending on what type of business you have. So you want to make sure that you're targeting the right brand, the right sort of message. So I'm reminded of the really cool movie called The Founder, and how the branding of McDonald's came about, and McDonald's really just sort of hit the sort of nerve of their customers, um, uh, which was the family-oriented sort of thing. So it wasn't just, they weren't just selling hamburgers, but it was really kids and families, you know, you know, churches, church, say sort of, there was an association with church, the golden arches and the arches and steeples. It sort of was a brilliant branding tactic that that was created, and it's one of the reasons why McDonald's is as big as they are to this day. So it's something to really consider, creating values that your customers will care about, and that really comes from the initial step of looking at your customer persona. And then of course, you know, when you're creating your brand, if you do happen to have a company that has other employees, then you want to include your employees in your brand value brainstorming sessions, because as I mentioned, your employees are going to be some of your best advocates. So they are going to be pretty key in helping you to determine what exactly your brand is. And maybe there'll be some learnings there, because they may be able to kind of give you some insights as to some of the things that you're branding, some of the you know, sort of brand ideas that you may not be thinking about as the leader of your company. So utilize your employees as a resource. And then I also kind of want to talk about another strategy that I think is pretty useful, which is called mind mapping. So a mind map is basically a mind map is essentially a map of different ideas associated with each other. So so here you've got a brand that is called Vero, and you can see a couple of some different things that you want to that they're associating with this brand. It's chic, it's beach related, it's national, it's practical, and then from that there are other associations that you're making with that. And then you basically build out this tree. As you can see, this is just one example, but you basically build out a tree, and the tree gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you have all these different associations that you're making, and you're going to circle off the ones that are going to be the most valuable to you, and those are going to be sort of helpful. It's a helpful kind of brainstorming exercise to get you to your sort of brand idea, your brand concept. And again, involve your employees in that process, and it can help you to really get figure out what your brand actually is. So then of course we did already talk about customer value proposition, but you want to make sure that you develop your customer value proposition. And the customer value proposition, just as a refresher, just talks about why you're different, why your services and why your services are different. So we talked about customer value proposition as it relates to your products and your services, but customer value proposition also relates to your brand itself. So what is your overall brand? How are you how are you beneficial to the customers? How are you different from the other brands? And how are your products and services different from the other products and services out on the market? And you want to make your overall value proposition the lifeblood of your business. You want to make sure that is the thing that you constantly are focusing on through all of your messaging, and use that value proposition to give your team a purpose. So with that, as you've created your brand values, you've determined your brand values. You want to make sure that you keep all of your content consistent across all of your different different messaging touch points. But you also want to make sure that you keep your content consistent from a color, icon, and with your colors and the icons and pictures that represent your business. You want to make sure that you're using similar and the same pictures. And one of the things I would kind of recommend for new businesses out there, if you could just getting started in business and you're not sure where to start, is after you go through the process as we've sort of lined out for you, and you determine what your brand is, go ahead and do a photo shoot. You don't need to spend a ton, but dedicate a couple $100 to a photo shoot that basically it can be what you can use across many different platforms, and you can use that to help you develop a brand guide. That's also known as a mood board. So you can create a set of different images that represent your business. They can be images of you, they can be images of your office, they can be images of your happy employees, things that are going to be representative of what your business is and that your customers are going to respond positively to. And then in addition to that, make sure that you're going out and you're representing your brand, and go out when you go to customer meetings, when you go to sales calls, when you go to networking events, when you interact with your employees, make sure that you're representing your brand as well. So these are all the things that sort of encapsulates the brand concept, and a couple of different ideas of how you can develop your brand. And as I did lead off talking about how the brand is not a logo, the logo can also be an important part of your brand. I've sort of held off until now talking about logos because I wanted to talk about all the other important brand assets. But logo is going to be an important part of your logo, and it's important to understand that the logo should come after your branding. So as the brand is a representation of your company, your company's values to your employees and to your customers, your logo is going to be a visual representation of your brand. So it's going to basically be an element that is going to encapsulate the key values and the core values of your brand. And that's a really hard thing to do. So, I'm going to go back to the concept of the mind map. Go back to your mind map and look at your mind map and see what are the core values. There are going to be many different values that you want to hit on, but there are going to be a few core values, and you're going to look at those values to help you determine some of the aspects of your logo. And of course, in this short presentation, we're not going to go into how to design a logo, but we'll go into a couple of different concepts that can help you to determine sort of a direction for your logo. And we'll have more in-depth information at our website, which I will we'll discuss after the presentation. But for now, you want to make sure that you go back to your mind map and look and find out what your core values are. So then with that, you've decided what your core values are. You can look at a color guide, and a color guide can be really useful to helping you to determine what colors you should be focusing on. So this should not be a terribly difficult exercise, because you will, depending on your industry, there are certain colors that are fairly typical that businesses often use. So it's always good to lean on what's been done before. That's one of the nice things about being a small business owner, is that you can lean on all the learnings of the big businesses and the businesses that have spent millions of dollars trying out different logos or testing logos in customer and user tests and focus tests and things of that nature, and look at entire industries and see which color schemes are used most in certain industries. So the general breakdown of colors and what the colors represent would be red tends to be used more for things like warmth and passion, masculinity, motivation, very strong colors. And you'll notice that that red is very often represented in the food industry. Then you've got blues. Blue heavy logos will focus more on dependability, reliability, mental clarity, relaxation, and balance. And you'll notice that equipment companies oftentimes like equipment, it would be something that you would see a lot of blues. Communications, you'll see a lot of blues in communications. Then you've got green, as you would probably imagine. Green represents nature, represents life, represents vitality. So natural companies that are more natural or nature-based. Obviously, if you go, everybody here goes shopping, goes to the grocery store. And, when you look on the shelves and you see an item that's green, you can almost, you can fairly reliably tell that company is trying to sell you on the organic or natural properties of the products. And then orange tends to represent happiness, confidence, extroversion. So anything it's more of an energetic and youthful kind of logo color. So you can look at the different colors for different logos, and for the different industries. And if you're in a particular industry, you might want to lean towards or lean into the colors that are represented within your industry. But you also may want to break out too if you happen to be in a particular industry and you're doing food, but you're doing you want to relay happiness and confidence and vitality and youthfulness in your products, then you may want to lean towards more of an orange. So that's part of the decision process, again, based on your persona and your customer value proposition. So then, with the colors kind of resolved, then you want to kind of look at your fonts. And really, there are some different fonts that you look at. The real basic ones would be scripts, and scripts convey elegance, as you would imagine. A script is not very concise or basic. It's very elegant and rich, and so it conveys elegance. Then there is also serif fonts, which have there are also serif fonts that have the little extra curls at the end of the lines, the extra little sections at the end of at the tops and bottoms of, like, the eyes have the little line at the bottom and the line at the top. For example, there's going to be a little bit more traditional, as you imagine. So finance industries and things of that nature, they'll be a little bit more traditional. And then you've got your sans serifs, which tend to be a bit more modern. So depending on which way you want to kind of gear towards, you can just determine whether or not you want to have a script, a serif, a sans serif, or you might decide to have something completely different, something a lot more playful or cartoony or playful font. So something that you can certainly play around with. And again, I would recommend getting your employees involved in the discussion there as well. Those are some sort of basic ideas of how you can look at your logo designs, and certainly, you're not going to be a master of logo design, but it's something that you can start the ball rolling with. And then if you do engage a graphics designer, they will have a good idea of what you're trying to accomplish with your logo, and they can take it from you and then give you some ideas and feedback as well. So in conclusion, obviously we're not going to be able to teach you all the things that are involved with creating your own brand and creating your logo, but I wanted to give you some starter tips and tricks to help you think about how to brand your business, and how to create a logo for your business. And these are some of the considerations that you need to be thinking about. So I want you to definitely visit us online for more content where we'll be discussing in some more depth about branding and logos. You can reach us. You can see us online at members.ebizmarketingacademy.com, and you can check out our blog and courses. So with that, eBiz Marketing Academy, let me just give you a little rundown on who we are. The eBiz Marketing Academy is an online community and platform for business skills learning. We provide our service for, free of charge for e-commerce business owners, service business owners, local business owners, coaches, digital marketers, and more. So come out and join us every Wednesday for a informative Wednesday morning lecture, and visit us online and on our Facebook group. And we are looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much for joining us this week, and take care, and we'll see you soon.